Welcome back, everyone. I'm your host, Mitch Simpkins, and this is Wins for Widows, where you get practical guidance from the mouth of professionals, all of us united in helping you get your feet back on the ground after experiencing the loss of a loved one. Together, we'll uncover the rooted question that you might be asking yourself: what now? And what should I do next? So today, I am super excited to introduce you to Megan Kopka, who is the board chair of the Modern Widows Club, and a national organization. If you haven't heard about it, you need to know about it. Using incredible resources, and it's really an effort to support and empower women after loss. And Megan is committed to this work. And her commitment really is deeply personal. When she was 38, she lost her husband after being a caregiver, and then faced the reality of solo parenting and widowhood. And she really realized that grief support often ends just as the real work of rebuilding a life begins. And she didn't just sit around. She actually built her own tribe when she co-founded the Cape Fear community of Modern Widows Club, and is now the board of the national board. And she also is a champion of the 7 pillars of holistic health for widows. And she's going to tell you about that. She's a mentor, a researcher, a speaker, fellow financial advisor, and a fierce widow advocate. Megan, welcome. So good to have you.
But thank you for having me, Mitch. It feels really good to be with a fellow financial advisor that's compassionate for widows. So
Yes,
thanks
this
for
is
having me.
it's a wonderful space to be. And it's such a cool little community that we learn about all across the country of people who are committed to this. So we have a few questions here that we're going to run through. And one of those big things that you and I are both passionate about and is so important is having second ears, other people involved in the process with you. Tell me what you advise about that in bringing someone in that you trust, and why is that so important?
I think one of the things that's really important about those first meetings is sometimes the first meetings, you're selecting your financial advisor, right? So I always tell clients even, interview 3 people, see who you feel like you can have the best conversation with, and ask them, do you serve people like me? Are they a specialist in the niche that you're in? And especially in the niche we're in, serving widows, there's a lot of things that can go well. And I'm sure you've seen things that don't go well. And it's really hard when it's irreversible decisions that are made, the pensions or annuitizing or things like that. Even selecting Cobra, you have 60 days to decide if you want to have Cobra or not. And then if you choose not to, do you have to go out into the network and find all new doctors? Right. So sometimes it's not really about the money. Sometimes it's about the ease of use. And the idea of having someone with you on the ride, bring a neighbor that you trust or someone who you feel like has a good idea about finances or just knows you well enough to
Mm,
know if
mm,
you're comfortable with someone or not. It's same thing in the medical community.
mm.
Some people get white coat syndrome, right? And so, or you hear some good news along with the bad news and you've held on to the good news and didn't hear the bad news, right? When you're in a medical situation, I think it's really good to have second ears
Love it.
in the office with you.
Love it.
Well, if there's white coat syndrome, how great do people want to talk about their finances, right? Like most people, I guess most Americans, statistics are huge of who's in debt and doesn't have money and is uncomfortable talking about money and how much we make. I mean, you and I talk about it hopefully all day long and are very
Yep.
comfortable with it.
Yep.
I'm comfortable talking about my own net worth and income and money.
Yep.
To me, it's a place that I feel very confident and I know most people don't.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Just having someone there to kinda gut check you, see what your responses are, and are you standoffish with this person? Like, you don't like anything
Yeah.
that they're saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can help someone help you early on, but at some point too, some of the worst financial advice I got was when I became widowed, and I'm like, "Do you know what I do for a living?" Like, people telling me to pay off my house. Well, keep them fixed for years. It was like right after the financial crisis, so we got something called a HAMP loan. My mortgage was 2%. No way am I
Yeah.
paying it off.
No, no,
And
no.
if I was a good payee for 6 years, I got a bonus $5,000 towards my principal. So, like, what a horrible piece of advice for me to
Yeah.
pay off the mortgage,
Yeah.
right? So,
Yeah.
well-intended people will chirp and repeat an article they just read that might not even apply to you. So, yes, have second ears. Cite your sources. Is it your neighbor down the street who has a house falling apart around them that's giving you financial advice, or go seek a professional, preferably a CFP, and make sure that they work with people like you.
Yeah, I love that. Megan, answer this for me because sometimes when I've talked to widows about that, like, who do you have? Who do you know? Well, I have this person and that person. Do you trust them? Yeah, I really trust them. I trust them with everything. Are you comfortable with them knowing about your finances? Well, no, I'm not. So how do you bridge that? If they have nobody else, like this one lady I talked to, she had no one else, but she did have a good trusted friend, but she wasn't ready to divulge all of her finances. How do you maneuver around that?
Well, I think in the first meeting, I mean, I don't know how you work, but I like a general idea of why someone's seeking financial advice, and
Okay,
that's it. I
okay,
don't need to know how much you have.
good.
So I would say in those first couple meetings, whether you're comfortable or not divulging everything, I would say at least in the interview meeting, you probably don't have to be. I have had people show up with all of their statements before for me to look at them, and I'm like, no, 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 we don't do that. We've got to see if we can have a good conversation.
If we're compatible.
Why are you hiring me? What are your concerns? I mean, it's pretty easy when you're a fresh widow, like, hey, I've never been through the probate office, or I've never played 52 pickup with my entire financial life, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
every single asset, whether it's an asset called an account, or it's an asset called a car, or it's an asset called property, it doesn't matter what it is. Every single thing that your husband's name was on needs to be looked at and touched and
mm,
retitled, most
mhm,
likely,
yeah,
right? So you're going through this entire
yeah,
long process.
yeah,
And so it might be, what are your biggest concerns would be the question that comes out of my mouth. What are your top priorities? Does anything have a deadline?
yeah,
Right. And
yeah,
so those could be just
yeah,
very 1, 2, 3
yeah,
list of
yeah,
things that are small without divulging everything in front of someone. And then typically I let them tell me, "Is there more? Tell me more about that," those kinds of things, and then I'll tell them, "Here's here's how I work, here's how I operate. Here's what you're purchasing from me." It's a holistic financial plan
yeah,
where we will touch everything,
yep,
right? Everything the CFP does, everything that's in personal finance is what I look at and what I do and what I help people redesign.
yep, I love that. And I know it's so like, there's so much weight initially. What I try to do is just say, all right, what's like the most stressful thing today that is on your mind? Let's solve that one thing today. Let's get that taken care of. If it's, you don't know where it all is, let's just start writing. Tell me what you think. Like, what is that first thing? Even sometimes before I even start talking about all the rest of it, like, let's just solve your biggest issue today. Well, what do you charge? Well, how do I work that? It doesn't
It
matter.
yeah.
Let's just fix it. Let's just fix
Yeah.
it, and then we'll talk later about all that stuff, but
So
you're
if it's
you're heavy
funny.
today. Let's help you to let's
Yeah.
help you to leave
2
this
things
office
come
with a
to
little
mind
less weight.
for yeah, for that with me. 2 things come to mind immediately. I'd gone to down the street. But the other thing is sleep. So, yeah, can I help you download a Calm app? And that goes into Modern
Mm,
Widows Club and the
mm,
7 pillars of
mm.
healthy living too.
Very
That
cool.
physical health part, some of the biggest things that bothered me at first was an inability to sleep through the night and an inability to swallow. Like, all my grief was in my neck. And so it was all very physical for me that I really needed help with. And those are the kinds of things that we teach and mentor and support in Modern Widows Club
So
that I
so
learned quite a bit about.
Megan, let's go into that. Talk to us about the 7 pillars.
Okay, so
Tell us what that's about.
the idea is to have widows come in and have a support group. So there's an expert on resilience who recently passed away. His name is Dr. Stephen Southwick, and he wrote a book on resilience. And apparently, there's 12 things that you need to do to be a resilient person or to build resilience. Right? It doesn't just happen naturally. Some people, you go through trauma or tragedy, and that is where they will stay. Right? When you're picking yourself back up and starting to envision a new life for yourself, you are building resilience. And so, two of the things you cannot get from yourself. So there's no pulling yourself up by the bootstraps, right? We're not independent Americans going to just march along and be an island and I'm by myself. You actually need two things outside of yourself. One is you have to find your tribe, and Modern Widows Club puts together a tribe for you, people that are like minded, having a support group. And the other thing is finding a widow mentor. So, and widows actually naturally do this.
Yeah,
Widows will start hanging out with each other.
for sure.
If
For
there's
sure.
the widow you at the church or
Yeah.
what it is that you get a widow mentor, you get the support group. Now, before we knew about Dr. Southwick's work, Carolyn Moore, our founder, came up with the 7 pillars of healthy living, one of which is physical health. And so, sure, we can think about hitting the gym and going and working out, and that is part of it. But just like I mentioned before, it's also nutrition and it's also sleep.
Sleep.
Remember when you had toddlers and you had to remind them to brush their teeth every night? Well, when you're a widow, it's almost like trying to figure out how to be a good parent to yourself again. We're going to sleep when it's dark, we're going to get up when it's light. Yeah, it's really painful. It's very, very hard, but I mean, when your life from literally the way that you wake up in the morning to how you sleep and how you go to bed at night has completely changed, especially at sudden loss when someone's there and gone. My husband had a ventilation machine throughout the night. And when you say the term like silence is deafening, I'm like, oh my gosh, it is. Because I had a low white noise and vibration that I was accustomed to for the last 2 years of my life. And when he died and it was silent, it was horrifying.
Yeah.
And it changed and disrupted sleep pattern, even though he was sleeping in a hospital bed for the last like
So
2
what
years.
did you do? How did you improve your sleep pattern, Megan? Did it change over the time? Did you have to do certain things? Did you find as you lived the other pillars that were with that, it started to get a little bit better? What helped
I
you?
was very, very intentional about bedtime and time to get up. I was very intentional about no lights at night and trying not to get out of bed, even if I was awake. If I did wake up early, like 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, I hit the gym.
Hmm.
So I was like, if you're up, you're up.
Oh,
You're having
remember what's
anxiety and a
that?
panic attack anyway. If your heart's gonna be racing, you better be on the elliptical.
Was
I did all the things that they say. So yeah, I did everything I possibly could to have good sleep.
yeah, yeah.
All tips.
Meditation is huge, isn't it? There's so much going up in there. You gotta stop and just get a hold of it and be like, "Okay, that is gone. That's gone. This looks cool. Let's keep this." Meditation. So, that's so cool. What are the others? So what are the 7, Megan? What are the 7?
Okay, so physical health is one, emotional and mental health is another,
Okay,
spiritual health,
okay,
relational health, financial health, finding purpose and meaning. That's a lofty goal, probably not a first year goal.
okay.
And then creativity and fun.
That
And
is
so Modern
I love it.
Widows Club has built a lot of our clubs around these ideas. There's a prayer group, there's the Widow Financial Empowerment, there's a health and wellness club, we have a book club. We did have an art club in the past, but
Mm,
there's our general support group that which we have virtually online. I would love to see Modern Widows Club be like AA, that any city you go to, you could find a Modern Widows Club. I would
yeah,
love to see it
okay.
get that big.
That was gonna
I
be
feel
my
like
next
every
question. Is
yeah,
it
like, yeah.
in every city? Are there certain chapters? Is it all are you trying to just make it a national tribe that's online? Is that kind of the focus,
There
or are you
is there's a virtual group online, which
okay,
has been really beneficial that started post-COVID. So a lot of this was Zoom post-COVID, the clubs, the
okay,
virtual. But yes, live and in person, we need the connection. It's nice to be able to hug people. I'm going home to Wilmington next week, and I will be at our Cape Fear Modern Widows Club meeting on
very
Tuesday
cool,
night.
very cool,
So I
very
love that we have a local club. And right now, I'm just south of Melbourne, Florida, staying in my son's house. We have a local club here as well, and I was just there last Thursday.
right,
So it depends the night of the week and all those things.
very cool, very
Usually,
cool.
we find two widows with at least 2 years in widowhood, right? We don't want fresh widows taking on leading a group that will become advocates and they become the spokesperson. And our support group meeting spends 2 hours together on a topic that is created by is under that is within one of the pillars of healthy living. So last month's focus might have been on spiritual health, right? It might have been on meditation.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
it could
Mm.
be anything.
Mm.
It could be
So
anything.
cool. And is this so they just go on the website? You go on the website, you'll be able to look for a location, it'll tell
And
you
you're
whether you have
committed.
and if you're interested in starting one in your location, you just have to have that, 2 years and be able to begin it.
Yeah, and we keep a database of zip codes of anyone who reaches out to the Modern Widows Club. So when there is someone that wants to start a local chapter, they very well might have 5 or 10 or 20 people that have reached out to the
Yeah,
chapter before, and
yeah,
they've got the start of a good group.
yeah.
Modern Widows Club just restarted. There were probably 6 of us at the last meeting. When I go to Wilmington, the club that I helped develop back in 2020, it was actually 2019, but became official in 2020, we have easily 40 widows at that
And
meeting.
they're regular, they come on a regular
And
basis.
then they create social outings and things like that. A lot of them have joined the travel club and have gone on some of the trips that are put on by the Modern Widows Club.
Very cool,
It's a very, very robust organization,
very
but it's
cool.
all founded and the basis of it, what I liked so much about it, which I'm sure you would appreciate as well, is it is rooted in research and education, but it's also connectivity.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's all really, really well grounded, positive things. And for me, I was 6 years out from widowhood when I started the group, and I have been blown away because I had to figure it out on my own, and a lot of these ladies get to come in raw emotion and are so authentic, and I am amazed at how self-aware they are because for probably 2 years, I just felt like grief was this thing that I said it was a cacophony of every negative emotion I could think of, but I could never really tell you how I felt. I'm like, am I angry? Am I
mm,
sad? Do I feel morose? Negativity? Am I frustrated?
mm,
I could not really talk about myself. I just didn't feel like I had the clarity. And so when I see these women with clarity, I'm like, "Wow, that's so cool."
mm,
Probably could be about one topic at a time, which is kind of what we're doing.
yeah,
But at the same time, I'm like, I could not string words together to save my life. And I'm a confident woman. I've started my own business. Like I've always been this way.
mm,
But there's something about grief that I think it shattered my self identity. And as hard as I said caregiving I got to do with my husband. Widowhood I had to do by myself. And I had kids that wanted things from me and
yeah,
I couldn't even
yeah.
help myself,
And you're dealing
right?
with their grief as well and trying to help them through it and yeah,
Yep.
had to have been
And feeling like you're
absolutely
failing.
overwhelmed.
I felt like failing at life of just
Yeah,
everything. For me, clearly, the financial part wasn't the hard part. I mean, I had definitely had my blips in
yeah,
dealing with customer
yeah,
service and things like that, but
yeah.
for the most part, that wasn't it. It
Well,
was the
Megan,
whole
we talked before, like, so I presented at a conference this last weekend and I spent at 45 minutes, I probably spent 10 minutes on technical stuff.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Because yeah, it's important, but to me, all the rest of these pieces are what really make a difference. Connecting, feeling loved, feeling trusted, feeling heard, feeling accepted, feeling like understanding. I need to find me someone who is that, and encouraging that connection. I think is the most important part of that whole piece of it. And yeah, the finances have to be taken care of, right? But only when those other core elements are already secured.
yeah.
Is that fair?
Yeah, I think so. To a degree. I mean, like sometimes the core elements are really what's at the forefront though. Because when there's chaos, that's something you really want to pay attention to. What do we need to do
Good,
to
good, good,
calm some of
good,
that turbulence?
good, good.
I think about it that way. I
And
also
there are
think,
some things that have to be done, like, right off, right?
yeah,
Like, yeah,
yeah,
these other pieces are important, but making sure the utilities are still going, making sure those things continue on are critical.
yeah, yeah. So making sure that you have access to money, critical, right? So it's like sometimes that, yeah, credit cards go away if you're an authorized user. That can be a good or bad thing. Those are the kinds of things. Do you have access to credit? Do you have access to money?
Cash flow.
Cash flow is huge. Cash flow, and then starting to understand your net worth, gathering all the assets, right? And in the probate terms, we marshal the assets. You get hit with all these weird words like right out of the gate. Probate, like executor, executrix. I'm like, okay, yeah, people are speaking Latin at you. It's just you're in charge. You're delegating. You're the one who's got to do it all. It's really
Your encyclopedia and be like, what was
yeah,
that? What am I supposed to be
yeah.
doing here?
I need a trust. And what can wait? Like, yeah, your estate documents probably need to be addressed, but you probably had a successor on them. So do they need to be addressed in month one or can that be at year one
Yeah,
when you've had some time to process?
yeah, yeah.
I was thinking too, like we did spring cleaning, right? So spring cleaning for the Modern Widows Club Widow Empowerment Group, that was our last topic. And what came up was, okay, so are we supposed to have our taxes for 7 years? And I'm like, oh, come on. Like, are you guys just scanning them in? Like, you can keep them all. But one of the women came up with, she was the executor for her uncle's estate who died like 20 years ago. And so she was looking online for the local shred it company, like who was sponsoring a shredder. And apparently they left an hour early. So she's like, I got all these documents, like decades old of taxes. And I think she was an executor for like two or three different people. She's like, I've got
Yep,
hordes of stuff where I'm finally like, I've moved. They were important at the time, but now I can finally take the time to find a shredder to get this taken care of.
yeah,
Anyway, her son's taking it to the bonfire instead of the shredder since the shredder left early. But those are the kind of things of like, what do we know? What are best practices? And from an education standpoint, it's like, okay, well, let's talk about it and how
yeah,
hilarious some people's stories are. It's
yep.
really, really great to hear other people talk.
Yep, yep, and I think Kathleen Reel, I credit it to her, but, maybe there's somebody else that has kinda created the now, soon, and later buckets. At least that's where I first heard about it on my podcast with her, and I love that concept because it's so overwhelming at beginning. It's like, I just gotta start somewhere. We'll do those now, and the other stuff can wait. The other thing that I see, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this, Megan, is with a lot of widows, there's this widow guilt, maybe?
Mhm.
About the deceased husband and betraying or erasing. That I hear that a lot, like, "I can't do this because it's gonna do that," as if he's, like, sitting and watching and waiting and going, "I can't believe you just did that." How do you help around that? What do you say? What do you feel? What's most
True.
beneficial in that situation to help them just move? I don't wanna say to move on, right?
Right,
You
right.
gotta take it at your own pace, but how what's the best way to deal with that guilt?
I get really curious. I mean, that's my biggest thing is like, tell me more about that. Like my father owned G Venova stock, and that was important to him, and he did really well with it. And I look at that in his account, and I'm like, it's hard for me to move forward, right? So we use terms like moving
Okay,
forward. Um,
interesting, okay,
do I want to continue with this
'cause there's some
holding? Should I do the research?
sentimentality to that.
Right, right.
Oh,
Do I
okay,
need to hold on to 100 shares, or can I hold on to one?
okay,
Right.
yeah,
So, talking through some of those things, I would say get curious. What is the story behind it? My dad didn't work at GE. He didn't know anyone who worked at GE. He just read an article in the Wall Street Journal and thought it would be a great thing. And he's like, I want to put thousands of dollars at that. And he did great. Good job, Dad. You had a hunch. You called me. We did it. Good job. So get curious about what the story is behind it. And I'll tell you, when my husband got sick, there are very few things that I looked forward to, but the one where you start thinking, what was the compromise? I had children, and so we were living in suburbia, and I grew up more urban. And I'm like, when Keith dies, I'm going to sell the family home and move downtown.
hmm,
And that's not exactly what happened because I got really uncomfortable with when he dies, this is what I'm gonna do. It hurt. And so then it became when my youngest graduates from high school, which time-wise I knew with ALS, she would likely not be graduated before he passed away.
he passed away with that.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, I had a lot of timing to think about it, and we didn't have, like, the cancer diagnosis where there's hope and remission.
Yeah, no, that's
This
fair.
is
Yeah,
we have a terminal illness, it will
yeah,
most likely last 3 to 5 years. That's what we had, and that's exactly what we had. We had 4 years. He hit the average. But I did think about that. I said, "Okay, when Jay graduates, I'm selling the family home and I'm buying a condo downtown," and that is exactly what I did. but I gave myself permission to not hold that compromise. At first, for some people, it might be really hard. I mean, my husband, for 18 years of marriage, I used Colgate toothpaste. When he passed away, I started buying Crest again. That's what I grew up with. Like, just weird stuff. I mean, sometimes it's just so obscure. Like, how did I
Yeah.
just flip back then? And how did I flip back and when? And
Interesting.
what was that about?
Well, I had a lady this weekend say to me, you know, no one ever wants this. We didn't sign up for this, but one of the benefits is I get to do the remote control at night. I can watch anything, do anything that I want. She had a really fun sense of humor.
Marriage is compromising, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And so that's where we've talked to before, Mitch, about pulling from we to me,
yep, yep.
where it's going to take a year or two before your neural pathways are even ready to conceptualize
Me,
that you're not still on this marriage path
yeah.
and that he's not here. Right. So it takes a lot of unwinding, having a deep partnership. And that's the biggest thing. When
Mhm.
someone is part of your everyday life,
Mm, mm,
you have lost a lot. Whether it was a good marriage or bad marriage, you have lost a lot in just the way that your routine and your mannerisms and everything were. And it's going to take a while to really self identify what is it that's uniquely yours.
mm, mm,
Ours, yours.
mm,
He, me. And
mm.
that's hard. I've used plural since I was pregnant, right? Everything was we. You have kids. I'm like, we're all doing this, because I think for the whole family. As I think as a woman, we're so community and family minded. And the fact that likely a lot of women were pregnant at some point, we do have this concept that it's always we. It's
Mm,
never about the
mm.
self. And so that's why I'm saying like some of those things are really deep conversations that are going to take a little bit of time, and they
And
might
that's a hard
change
transition.
dramatically.
I love that you said you gotta wait for all of the brain synapses to redirect themselves, because after 18 years in your case, sometimes 50, 40 years, that's a lot of history and a lot of thinking in a certain direction.
Or even if it's less than one, when you get married and you are so excited to build that new path and that new life together, it's really hard. And some of the youngest widows really, really struggle. And I'll tell you, at 38, I mean, both my grandmothers were like, "You'll have a new chapter." For them, they felt like the story's pretty much written. My grandmother lived 9 years after my grandfather passed away. The other one lived 21 years, much to her dismay, because she had always been sick, but she lived to be 90. So sometimes I think there's horrible things that people say to widows, and one of them is, "You'll find love again," right? Like, that was the last thing I wanted to hear. My grandmothers could say that to me, and I know that they had the best intention. I know that they both loved Keith. I know that they saw me in my marriage, and they knew what a great father he was. Both of them, when they were in their late 30s, early 40s, had a lot of family stress and struggles too. So I know what trauma and tragedy hitting the home is like. My mother was diagnosed with leukemia. My grandfather had brain surgery in the 1960s, believe it or not. So, like, who lives then? He made it. He lived to be 89.
That's amazing.
But I knew they both had struggled with the amount of fear that I was struggling with at that time. And so, yeah, they walk on water. They could say anything to me.
At this conference, there was a board of things that people said and shouldn't have said, and the majority of those were, "He's in a better place," or
Yeah,
"You'll
yeah,
see him again," or "At least he doesn't have to suffer," right? And these women are
right.
like, "That is no consolation for me."
No.
That's
And I'll
supposed to
tell you
make me feel
too,
better.
I had, older widow sometimes I would walk into grief groups or widow groups or even caregiving groups, and I'd be the youngest person there. "Oh, are you here for your parents?" I'm like, "No." My husband, "No." "Oh, what does he have? Cancer?" I'm like, "No, ALS." "Oh." So it's like I would get the gold star for the biggest pity party, and I had come there to be with colleagues, my compatriots. Like, I came here to belong, not to feel like I'm the worst story you've ever heard. And so
Interesting.
we did have, and even in our widow group, an older widow say something about like, "I'm so glad my kids were grown." And I'm like, hey, you could flip that
Interesting.
too and be like, "I'm glad my kids are at home because
Yeah,
I don't know if I'd get up every day
yeah.
if I didn't have someone to get up for."
At the end of the day, there's probably gonna be something I say that's going to offend one of you, and I'm sorry. I ask for your grace, I ask for your for your consideration. I'm here for you because I love you and I want to serve and help you. And it was I thought it was a really cool way to kind of begin the whole session. Like, just accept, as much as we don't want to, sometimes we do say things that we don't even intend it to be offensive. And so I love that. I love that comment. Megan, I could go on for another hour for this. There's so much cool stuff. You are a wealth of knowledge, and I've so much enjoyed. I've learned a ton from you just today, and I think our listeners will learn a whole bunch of stuff. We didn't go on script very much because we carried so many other things that I think were more relevant, including Modern Widows Club. I love that you really focused on that. It's an amazing organization.
It
And
truly
when
is.
you need a tribe, there's a tribe there. Even if it's not local, there is a tribe there and doing some amazing, amazing things.
Yeah, I think too, especially for the younger audience that's learning, we have a parent club. So there is an advocate that is running that club for us. And she's been amazing. She comes across really great speakers and really great research. And I love watching her post. And I wish I had had that at that time. It's just so hard to carry the family through.
Very cool. Well, Megan, you're amazing. Thank you for your time today. Thanks for your work. Thank you for being such an amazing advocate and for everything that you're doing with Modern Widows Club.
Thanks for being a compassionate advisor, Mitch. I
You got
appreciate
it.
you.
You got it. Love it. See ya. Thank you.
Thank you.